Hey, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to discuss how to deal with really difficult challenges. And I've talked about this before in previous videos, but I really want to zone in on one point that I think makes a big difference when it comes to dealing with really difficult challenges. And I'm going to talk about my own personal experience and what I did using this one point to get through those difficult challenges. If you like this video, please like it and please subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications on all future upcoming videos. Everyone's got challenges in different areas. Some people might have challenges with their children, might be with their business, might be with an intimate relationship, might be with a past event. It could be with their general well-being. We've all got challenges. Sometimes they are really, really difficult challenges. But we have to go back to the basis, the basic psychology when it comes to dealing with really difficult challenges. And through doing that, I really want to bring out a really important point. And that basic psychological rule is the following, that it's not about what happens, it's about the narrative that we draw from what happens. And I've spoken about this on my video, how to make pain your best friend and how to take control of our lives, the core equation that I've spoken about so many times because it's so important. But it's not about what happens. It can't be about the event, because if it was, we would see generalized absolute patterns that if you go through event A, you come out with this outcome, and if you go through event B, you come out with this outcome. And it's just not true, because there are some people who go through abusive upbringings and they don't continue to abuse their kids, and there's some people who do. There are some people brought up in homes where a parent is an alcoholic and they continue to be an alcoholic, and there's some children who have an alcoholic father or mother and they never touch alcohol in their life. So it can't be the event. It's not about the event. Events are painful. That for sure. Some events are incredibly painful. Universally, we can agree. There are certain events that are just going to be painful. But what determines where we go from that painful event is all going to come down to the personal narrative, the story that we write about that event. So just an example, God forbid someone loses a leg. That's a painful experience. We can all agree. That is not going to be an experience that people say, yeah, that gave me lots of pleasure. That is a painful event. That's a painful experience. But what we draw from that experience, what that experience means, the meaning that we give to that experience, that event, is really going to determine where we go forward, whether or not we grow and become stronger and better, or whether or not we suffer and get caught up in that really painful event because of the narrative that we have. So if we lose, God forbid, lose a leg, and we have the narrative, that means my life is over, that painful event is going to turn into a lifelong suffering. But if we have the narrative of, okay, it's a leg, thank God I've got so many other limbs that I'm grateful for. What am I going to do to grow? What am I going to do to become better than I already am? What do I have to do to make sure that I can function? What new skills have I got to learn? What's the gain? What's the benefits? Because, there's always a benefit. There's always a positive side to every challenge. It's just been my experience. And if you have that kind of thinking, that kind of narrative, that kind of story, well, then the event was painful, but after a while, we're going to grow and become stronger, and that pain kind of wears off, it kind of goes away, and we kind of transform into this new being with this new thinking. So there's a personal narrative that I have seen from talking to people and in my workshops and in my one-to-one therapy, and from my own personal experience of my own personal, really difficult, horrible challenges that I've been subjected to, that there's a personal narrative that can really get in the way. And that core narrative that I've heard a lot is something along the lines of, I don't deserve this, right? They have a really difficult experience, a difficult challenge, a difficult event, and people draw out this kind of thinking and this narrative that I don't deserve this. And that narrative is going to be a major roadblock in us going forward, and I'm going to explain why. In order to overcome a challenge, we first have to be at peace with it. We have to accept that it's happened. We can't be in denial. We have to accept. We don't have to necessarily agree that it was okay what happened. We don't necessarily have to say, it was okay what this person did to me, or it's just, it's a pleasurable experience to, God forbid, lose a limb. I'm not saying we have to go to that extent, but we have to accept that it's happened, because as long as we're in denial that this thing has happened, we can't deal with what's happened because we're in denial of it. So the key to transforming, the key to becoming stronger than that experience is the basic acceptance of it has happened, and therefore what am I going to do to grow and become stronger and make this a meaningful experience, a meaningful narrative. But if we can't accept it, then we can't grow. And if we're in denial, then, well, it didn't happen according to us. And if it didn't happen, then we can't deal with the fact that it did. And the problem with the kind of narrative of I don't deserve this, it's teetering along the lines of denial. Like, this shouldn't have happened, but it did. This is not fair. Okay, but it still happened. So when we have this narrative that I don't deserve this, in some ways we are denying the fact that it has happened. And that's not going to allow us to give everything to dealing with that experience. It's like going to the gym, right? Imagine you can pick up 30 kilo and you're trying to lift up 40. You try and lift up 40 kilo and you just can't pick it up. So if you start having the narrative, well, that 40 kilo, it's unfair that it weighs 40 kilo, that's going to disempower you. It's not going to make you feel very empowered, which is then going to lead to the actions of probably not giving it all. And therefore, it's going to be reaffirming that you can't pick up the 40 kilo. And there's nothing wrong with the 40 kilo because the 40 kilo is what it is. It's done nothing wrong. We have to change. We have to become stronger. But if we have the narrative of, okay, it is 40 kilo, that's just what it is. What do I have to do to become stronger? We're then going to feel empowered and we're going to have the best chance of being able to hold that weight and win and succeed. So the same is true with difficult challenges and difficult experiences and difficult events. They may weigh more than we can currently carry and hold, but at the end of the day, they just are. It has just happened. And we have to know how to hold that weight. We have to become stronger. But if we're in denial of it, we're never going to be able to access that thought process of, okay, what am I going to do to become stronger? Who do I have to speak to? What kind of skill set do I have to learn? What kind of narrative do I have to have? What kind of emotional intelligence do I have to build? So in denial is holding us back. And this kind of thinking of, I don't deserve this, or this should not be happening to me, is an element of denial, which is also going to impact our feeling, because we go back to that core equation, thinking about the event creates a feeling that we feel, and therefore that impacts the actions that we take. So we've got to make sure that that equation is working for us. And if we have this thinking of this is unfair and I don't deserve this, well, that's going to hold us back. But I want to take it a little bit further. I don't just want us to have positive thinking. I'm not into positive thinking because positive thinking has no necessarily basis. We've got to have practical, realistic thinking that we can believe to be true. There's nothing wrong with some positive thinking, but I'm very much into practical thinking. Both start with a P, but one has more substance to it. And generally speaking, practical thinking is also very positive, but sometimes positive thinking is not so practical. So, you know, as I mentioned before in the intro, that I've been through some really harsh challenges, some really, you know, soul-destroying experiences. And I can tell you right now that looking back, I'd go through them all again, and I'm deeply grateful for those experiences. And I'm actually grateful to the people who subjected me to those experiences, because I found a way to grow and I found a way to become stronger. And as I've said so many times in the analogy of the gym, when you learn to lift up the 100 kilo, yeah, it's difficult, yeah, it's challenging, and yeah, it involves a lot of consistency and a lot of commitment. You're, you know, on a physical level, once you can lift up 100 kilo, your body now is going to look like a body that can lift up 100 kilos. So yeah, it's difficult to get to that stage, but then you reap the rewards in all the physical sense of that you now have a body that's incredibly strong. And the same is true with our experiences. The more we grow, the more we change emotionally. All we take to heaven is who we are, right? You don't take your car, you don't take your house, you don't take your clothes. All we take is who we are as a person. And when we have challenges, difficult experiences, it challenges who we are. Meaning that if it's a challenge, therefore who we are isn't up to the task, and that means we're going to have to become stronger. And if we become stronger, we reap those rewards, because that stronger you, that stronger me, is going to therefore influence all the areas of our life. But I remember when I would share what I've been through, and people, you know, obviously felt very sorry and were horrified by the experiences. And many of the times they would say to me, you know, Joe, you're a nice guy. You don't deserve this. Now, obviously, that's their personal opinion that I'm a nice guy. But they would say to me, you know, you're a nice guy. You don't deserve to have gone through this. And I know that they were coming from, they were trying to show some empathy and sympathy. But I would say back to them the following, and I believe this to be true, and I think this is a really healthy way in dealing with this narrative that this is unfair. I would say to them, listen, I appreciate your empathy. I really do. And I understand that you're trying to give me some validation. But who says that I don't deserve this? Who says? I mean, I personally believe in God, and I believe everything happens for a reason. There's a bigger master plan. There's just one chapter out of 36 years. Actually, many, many chapters. But there's still many chapters that I get to write. But who says that this is unfair? I haven't seen the whole story. I haven't seen the next 50, 60 chapters that, please God, I'll get to experience. Who says that this isn't fair? Who says that we deserve to have two legs? Is that fair? We have so many things that go on in our lives, in the past and in the present, that we have that we just take for granted. Who says it's fair? Who says it's fair that I've got a shelter over my roof? I just recently went to go see a client, an old client of mine. She's 19 years old, or 20. She's been in hospital for 6 months, and she's had terrible health issues over the last 4 years. And in the last 6 months, she's had 4 operations, found out, some terrible diagnosis. And who says that I don't deserve to have that? I mean, who says that I deserve to be healthy at home? Who says that I deserve to not be in a hospital? I can't answer that question. So there are so many things that we have that is good, past experiences and in the present, that we just assume that we deserve, this sense of entitlement. We've done nothing to earn or deserve our 2 legs. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have legs. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have an arm or an eye. Life would be a lot harder. So we tend to come from this place of, I feel, a sense of entitlement that I deserve to have an incredible life. No, we have to earn that right, meaning we're going to get challenges, and if we want to have an incredible life, then we have to earn it by becoming stronger, because if we do become stronger through those challenges, we then do have an incredible life. That is why I am deeply grateful for all those past horrific experiences that I had to go through. They were painful, and they were more than painful, they were soul destroying, but I'm deeply grateful for them because I feel like I'm in a really good place and I get to do what I love, and it's very fulfilling, and I feel great about life because of the experiences I went through. So not only this narrative of this is unfair, this shouldn't have happened, is a sense of denial, which is going to then hold us back from dealing with the event, and therefore we're going to suffer, we're going to prolong that pain when we're going to turn it into it's going to transform into suffering. Is also not necessarily true, because what we're doing is we're focusing on one element of our life, one challenge, and we're ignoring huge amounts of information. And I'm all about getting the whole picture. As I said, I'm not into positive thinking, I'm into practical thinking, and practical thinking is taking in the whole picture. So if I look at my whole life, I had an amazing upbringing, got an incredible family, incredible friends, incredible community, love my job. Who says I deserve to have all of that? Yes, some of it I've worked hard to achieve and to get to, but so much of it, I was just born into it. I didn't necessarily deserve, or I can say, I deserve that. Like, I was entitled to have that upbringing. I was entitled to have 2 legs. I was entitled to have the job that I have. I worked hard, but there's plenty of people who work hard and don't necessarily get to do what I do. So it's not just that that narrative is going to hold us back. It's not necessarily true. And when we start making our challenges the whole focus of our lives, we're going to feel very hard done by. We're going to feel very hard done by life. And then we might lose a sense of hope, or a sense of purpose, or a sense of future vision that things can get better. But when we start bringing in all the other noise that I talk about in so many videos, bringing in all the noise, bringing in all the pictures, we're going to be a lot kinder to ourselves. We're going to be a lot kinder to the experience, and we're going to be able to recognize, yes, this is unfair, but I've also got so many other things that are good and positive and pleasurable and healthy that also may be unfair, that maybe we don't bring enough gratitude for. Maybe we're not giving enough gratitude towards the things that we have. And therefore, when things go wrong, we kind of blow it out to proportion. It's not saying it's not a difficult event, it's not saying it's not painful, but the narrative that we have is going to determine that feeling and therefore the action. And not only is it going to hold us back, but it's missing and it's distorted and it's deleting huge amounts of information of stuff that is also unfair. So what I'm suggesting is that we come from a different narrative. We create a different narrative that's not only true, but is going to allow us to deal with that challenge, and thereby we will be able to hold that challenge and become stronger and reap the incredible eternal rewards that we will have when we become stronger than the experience that we've experienced. And that narrative is, it has happened. It is true. Yes, it may be I didn't ask for it, maybe I didn't request it, and maybe it wasn't right of the other person, and maybe it's not what I would have wanted, but at the end of the day, it has happened. And there are many things in my life that have happened to me that maybe I didn't ask for that were positive. So the only question in my mind, the only dilemma that I have is, what do I have to do to overcome this? What do I have to become? What skill do I have to learn? Who do I need to speak to? Who's got the advice? Who's been through a similar experience and they can guide me through this? That is the narrative that we need to have. That isn't just positive, but it's also practical and true, because it's bringing in everything. That will then allow us to move forward, because it just is. The experience has happened. Nothing we say to ourselves will delete the experience that is painful. There's nothing we can do. We can't press the delete button on our computer and undo the experiences that maybe we've caused or maybe other people have caused to us. We simply can't. It has happened. It is true. It is a reality. And any sense of denial is only going to make that painful experience more painful and turn into suffering. And the only way that we're going to grow and overcome that experience and therefore be thankful for that experience, like I am where I am right now, it is by growing through it, is by becoming stronger with it. And the only way to become stronger through it is to have this true narrative that it's happened, there's nothing I can do to delete it, may not have requested it, may not have asked for it, may not have been a pleasurable experience. The only question is, what am I going to do to become stronger? Because I want to become stronger because I know I'm going to reap the rewards. What do I have to do? So let's ask the question. Let's think of a really difficult experience that we're going through right now. Maybe it's from many years ago, maybe it's something currently that we're going through. What is our personal narrative? What is the story that we're writing? What is the narrative that we're putting in our book called life, that book that we get to write every single day, every single month, every single year? Is that narrative allowing us to write a new chapter going forward that's going to be healthy, positive, and fun and pleasurable? Or is our personal narrative not only distorted and missing huge amounts of information and experiences and is denying the reality that has happened, but it's going to create untold suffering? What is our personal narrative? And if our personal narrative is a sense of denial, are we willing to face the fact that it has happened? And what do we need to do? What support do we need to do? What support do we need to give to ourselves in order to be okay with the fact that it's happened, but more importantly, to grow through it? And then we will find that those experiences become our greatest asset. And that is such an incredible place to be, that we look through our past experiences, we look through the difficult things, the soul-destroying experiences that we go through, and we are able to say, you know what, that it was painful, didn't ask for it, but I'm truly grateful for the fact that it happened. I am, because it's made me become something that I probably would never have become had it not been for those experiences, because it pushes us, it really pushes us to grow. And we all deserve to have that feeling of being at peace with things that have happened. And the only way to get there is to have a narrative of it has happened. What am I going to do about it? What am I going to do to grow so that I become stronger than that painful experience?